Picture this: flames roaring through a family home in the dead of night, devouring everything in their path on the second floor where a helpless 5-year-old girl sleeps alone. Firefighters battle an inferno that should have claimed her life within minutes, temperatures soaring beyond what any human can endure. Yet when the lead rescuer finally reaches her room, he finds the child sitting calmly in the center of total destruction, completely unharmed, not a hair singed, clutching something in her tiny hands that brings even the most hardened veteran to tears. What she says next about a beautiful lady in blue would shatter skepticism and reignite faith in ways no one could have foreseen. This is the night a miracle of the Virgin Mary unfolded before eyewitnesses who can never forget. Before we continue, share in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let's see how far the miracles of the Virgin Mary have reached. And if you haven't yet joined our family, subscribe now, because here, each day, we witness the tender love and mighty power of the Mother of God in the vast expanse of Texas, where wide skies meet resilient hearts. Robert Hayes had dedicated 22 years to the fire service. He was the kind of firefighter others looked to in crisis, the one who remained ice calm when chaos erupted, analyzing angles, wind patterns, structural weaknesses while colleagues battled panic. Residential blazes, industrial explosions, chemical spills. He had faced them all, emerging with the quiet conviction that the world operated on predictable physical laws. Miracles, to Robert, were merely coincidences awaiting scientific explanation. Though married for 18 years to Linda, a devoted Catholic who faithfully brought their children Michael and Sarah to Sunday Mass, Robert rarely joined them. His faith was in training, equipment, and human grit, not in unseen forces. That Tuesday, November 15th, began like any other for Robert. His shift started at 6 in the evening under a clear autumn sky, the station quiet after a mundane day, a minor gas leak in the morning, a fender bender in the afternoon. Nothing hinted that this night would challenge everything he believed. Across town, Jennifer Wilson prepared for another demanding night shift as a nurse of 8 years. A single mother since her divorce 2 years earlier, she balanced the relentless hours of hospital work with raising her bright 5-year-old daughter, Lily. Their modest 2-story home, chosen for its proximity to both the hospital and Lily's school, offered a sense of stability amid life's upheavals. Upstairs, Lily's room was a haven of childhood wonder. Light pink walls adorned with princess posters and unicorn decals, a canopy bed draped in soft pastels, promising sweet dreams under a crescent moon lamp. Single motherhood carried its own quiet burdens for Jennifer, the constant juggling of schedules, the financial strains, the longing for more time with her little girl. Yet she managed, leaning on a vital source of support, Margaret Thompson, a 68-year-old widow who had spent over 3 decades as a nanny. Childless herself after losing her husband 12 years prior, Margaret poured her maternal love into the families she served. A lifelong Catholic with an unshakable devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, she carried a small bag everywhere containing her reading glasses, a well-worn Bible, essential medicines, and a cherished rosary, a gift from a grateful family years ago. That rosary, with its smooth beads worn from countless prayers, was more than an object. It was Margaret's lifeline to heaven, used daily in petitions for those she cared for. Jennifer had met Margaret through their parish priest shortly after the divorce, when exhaustion and loneliness threatened to overwhelm her. Margaret will be a godsend, the priest had assured, and he was right. 3 nights a week, Margaret arrived promptly at 6:30, staying until Jennifer returned around 7 in the morning. She prepared dinners, oversaw homework, managed baths, and tucked Lily in with stories that sparked imagination. To Lily, she was Grandma Maggie, a grandmother in every way that mattered. Their traditions brought warmth to those evenings, watching favorite cartoons, sharing giggles over simple joys. Margaret's gentle faith infused these moments. She taught kindness, patience, and quiet trust in God's care without ever pushing. The Rosary held profound significance in Catholic tradition, a prayer dating back to the Middle Ages when Street Dominic received it from Our Lady herself in a vision, according to pious belief. Its mysteries meditate on the lives of Jesus and Mary, offering protection and peace to those who cling to it in trial. For Margaret, it was a shield against life's storms, a way to entrust her charges to the Mother of God, who Catholics have long invoked as refuge of sinners and comforter of the afflicted. Jennifer, though not deeply religious herself, appreciated Margaret's influence, how it instilled values in Lily that no daycare could match. That Tuesday unfolded in familiar comfort. Jennifer prepared a quick snack before her shift, leaving detailed instructions as always. Lily bubbled with excitement, eager to share a new song learned at school with Grandma Maggie. At 7 sharp, Jennifer kissed them both goodbye and headed into the night, unaware that ordinary routines were about to be shattered irrevocably. Margaret settled in, preparing Lily's favorite, pasta with rich tomato sauce and meatballs. Over dinner, the little girl chattered animatedly about her day, playground adventures, new friends, classroom discoveries. Laughter filled the kitchen, a balm against the quiet challenges of their lives. Afterward, they moved to the living room for cartoons, Margaret knitting a soft blanket destined for the church's charity drive, a small act of love echoing Mary's own quiet fiat. At 8:30, bath time arrived. Lily splashed happily under watchful eyes, emerging fresh in her colorful unicorn pajamas. Upstairs in her cozy room, the bedtime ritual began. Lily chose a story about a brave princess aiding forest animals, and Margaret read with animated voices that brought the tale alive. Afterward, they talked softly, Margaret always carving out time for Lily to share any worries, fostering openness in a world that could feel uncertain. As they spoke, Margaret drew out her rosary for silent evening prayers. Curious as ever, Lily asked about the beads. With gentle patience, Margaret explained, it was a way to speak to the Virgin Mary, to ask her protection over loved ones. She showed Lily how the prayers flowed, decade by decade, inviting heaven's gaze upon them. In that tender moment, a seed of faith was planted innocently. Margaret placed the rosary on the nightstand, tucked Lily in with her teddy bear, and watched as peaceful sleep claimed the child. Descending to the living room, Margaret resumed her knitting in her favorite armchair, the television murmuring softly, ever attentive to the quiet house around her. As the clock ticked past 10 that evening, Margaret sat comfortably in her armchair, the soft click of knitting needles blending with the low hum of the television soap opera. The house felt peaceful, wrapped in the quiet security that comes after a child's bedtime prayers. Yet gradually, an unfamiliar scent began to intrude, a faint chemical tang that didn't belong. At first, Margaret dismissed it as perhaps a neighbor's late barbecue or something drifting on the autumn breeze. But the odor grew stronger, more acrid, curling insistently into her awareness until it demanded attention. She muted the television and stood, her years of watchful care sharpening her instincts. Moving through the first floor, she checked the kitchen, stove off, oven cold, everything as it should be. But as she approached the staircase, the smell intensified, now accompanied by a subtle haze that caught in her throat. Her heart quickened, climbing the stairs slowly. Each step carried her closer to a growing warmth that should not have been there. At the landing, smoke hung in thin veils, and an ominous orange flicker danced faintly in the hallway. Panic rose like bile, but Margaret forced herself forward, calling Lily's name while covering her mouth with her sleeve. The smoke thickened rapidly, stinging her eyes and searing her lungs. Heat radiated from the walls as flames began to lick visibly along the hallway ceiling. She pushed toward Lily's door, shouting desperately, but the dense cloud repelled her, forcing coughs that doubled her over. Visibility vanished. The crackle of consuming wood filled her ears like a predator's growl. In that terrifying moment, Margaret confronted the unthinkable. She could not reach the child she loved as her own. Tears mixed with smoke as she stumbled back down the stairs, screaming for Lily to stay low, to hide if she could hear her. Though she knew the roar above drowned out every word that I in the kitchen, hands trembling violently, Margaret dialed emergency services. The operator's calm voice cut through her hysteria. Address, details, location of the child. Second floor, front bedroom. Please hurry. She's only 5. Confirmation came that help was en route, but Margaret couldn't wait passively. She tried the stairs once more, only to be driven back by a wall of heat and smoke now spilling downward. Flames glowed fiercely upstairs, sparks spitting like angry stars. Defeated but not broken, she flung open doors and windows on the ground floor, hoping to vent the poison, then rushed outside into the cool night air. Neighbors emerged, drawn by her cries. Fire! Call for help. There's a little girl inside. Some men bravely attempted entry, but the intensity drove them back. It was suicide without gear. Margaret stood on the lawn, clutching her arms around herself, staring at the upper windows where fire now roared freely, painting the night orange. She whispered frantic prayers, decades of the rosary spilling from her lips in a torrent. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us, protect her, please, she's so small. In Catholic tradition, the Virgin Mary has long been invoked in moments of peril, the star of the sea guiding through storms, the health of the sick, the refuge of sinners. Countless stories through centuries tell of her maternal shield descending upon the vulnerable, from children in war-torn villages to sailors lost at sea. Sirens finally pierced the distance, growing louder until fire trucks screeched to a halt. Robert Hayes stepped down from the lead engine, his experienced eyes scanning the blaze with grim precision. The second floor was fully involved, dense black smoke billowing from every upper window, flames visible and hungry. His instruments would soon confirm temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Fahrenheit, conditions where survival beyond minutes was medically impossible. Margaret ran to him, grasping his arm. Please, save Lily. She's 5, in the front bedroom upstairs. I tried, but I couldn't get through. Robert nodded, his face set behind the calm mask of professionalism, while his team deployed hoses and donned full gear. Heavy turnout coats, oxygen tanks, masks, axes, thermal imaging cameras. They attacked the ground floor flames to clear a path, water hissing against the inferno. Margaret's description of the layout guided them. The stairs, the hallway, the door at the end. As they prepared to ascend, Robert's mind calculated coldly. Exposure time, oxygen depletion, structural collapse risks. For a child trapped that long in such heat, hope was a luxury they couldn't afford. Yet something stirred beneath his skepticism, a fleeting image of his own daughter Sarah, asleep safely at home. He pushed it aside, emotion clouded judgment. Commander Morrison's voice crackled over the radio from below. Too dangerous, survival odds near zero. But Robert's response was firm. We go in. She deserves that much. The team advanced, hoses suppressing what they could, moving as one through choking smoke on the first floor. The stairs groaned under their weight, heat intensifying with every step upward. Plaster crumbled, embers rained down. At the top, the hallway was a tunnel of fire, walls ablaze, ceiling partially collapsed, visibility reduced to mere inches even with flashlights. Morrison warned again. Robert, this is beyond rescue. But Robert pressed forward, driven by a duty deeper than calculation. We're not leaving without trying. Johnson, his teammate, echoed agreement. They navigated fallen beams, the floor treacherous beneath them, inching toward the front bedroom where Lily waited, or so they prayed. The hallway on the second floor had become a furnace, flames leaping wildly along the walls, feeding on drywall and wood with insatiable hunger. Robert and his team advanced inch by agonizing inch, their heavy boots crunching over debris, the roar of the fire drowning out all but the urgent crackle of radio communication. Thermal imaging cameras glowed faintly in the blackness, searching for any sign of life amid the destruction. Temperatures pushed past 600 degrees, hot enough to melt aluminum, to reduce human tissue to ash in moments. Robert's mind raced with facts. No one, especially not a child, could withstand this for the 30 minutes the blaze had raged unchecked. The threshold of Lily's bedroom, the door frame charred and splintered. Robert paused for a fraction of a second, steeling himself against what experience told him he would find. He swept his flashlight beam into the void, the light scattering uselessly in the dense smoke. The room was a nightmare. Furniture reduced to twisted skeletons, the ceiling partially caved in, walls blackened and blistered. The little canopy bed was unrecognizable, its metal frame warped by heat. Yet as he pushed forward, something impossible pierced the chaos. A perfectly circular patch in the center of the floor, about 2 meters across, untouched by flame or smoke. The carpet within it lay pristine, the pink walls unmarred, as if an invisible barrier had held the inferno at bay. And there, sitting calmly in the very middle, was Lily, dressed in her unicorn pajamas, clean, bright, intact. She looked up with wide, unafraid eyes, clutching Margaret's rosary tightly in her small hands. Not a single hair on her head was singed, no redness on her skin, no trace of the toxic smoke that should have filled her lungs. She smiled at the masked figure looming before her, as if a firefighter emerging from hell was the most natural sight in the world. Robert stood frozen, his rational mind reeling. Hallucination? Shock? None of it made sense. In over 2 decades battling fires, he had never witnessed anything that so blatantly defied the laws of nature. "Hi," Lily said clearly, her voice cutting through the roar like a bell. "The pretty lady said you were coming to get me." Robert's training kicked in despite the shock. He moved swiftly, scooping her into his arms, checking rapidly for injuries. None. Her skin was cool, her breathing steady. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" he asked, voice muffled through his mask. She nodded vigorously. "The beautiful lady kept me safe. She said I didn't need to be afraid." Protecting her body against his chest, Robert retraced their path through the collapsing hallway, shielding her from falling embers and superheated air. Lily remained serene, trusting completely, the rosary still clasped in her fist. Emerging into the night, Robert descended the ladder as cheers erupted from the crowd below. Neighbors, paramedics, fellow firefighters, all witnessing the impossible. Margaret rushed forward, tears carving paths down her soot-streaked face, arms outstretched. "Lily, my precious girl." She enveloped the child in a fierce embrace, sobbing with relief. How did you stay safe?" Paramedics swarmed immediately, oxygen ready, blankets at hand, expecting the worst. Yet their examinations revealed nothing. No burns, no inhalation injury, normal vitals. Lily sat calmly on the stretcher, recounting her story with childlike simplicity to anyone who would listen. "When it got hot and smoky, I was scared," she began, swinging her legs. But then a very beautiful lady appeared. She wore a gorgeous blue dress and had bright light all around her, like the sun. Margaret's breath caught. The description echoed centuries of Marian apparitions. Our Lady of Guadalupe in her star-mantled blue, Our Lady of Fatima radiant in white and gold, but often depicted with heavenly light, the Blessed Mother appearing to children with messages of hope and protection. She sat next to me and held my hand. Lily continued. "She gave me this rosary and said as long as I held it tight, nothing bad would happen. She sang softly, and I wasn't afraid anymore. She stayed until you came." Margaret recognized the rosary instantly, the very one she had left on the nightstand. Tears of awe streamed down her face as she knelt before the child. In Catholic tradition, the Virgin Mary has appeared countless times as a maternal guardian, especially to the innocent. From the children at Buring and Banus to the little seers of Lourdes, Mary has chosen the pure of heart to deliver her gentle reassurances. The Rosary, that powerful chain of prayer, has been called a spiritual weapon, a lifeline in moments of peril. Now, clutched in Lily's hands, it had become tangible proof of heaven's nearness. Robert stood nearby, helmet off, watching the scene unfold. His colleagues who had glimpsed the room confirmed the anomaly, a flawless circle preserved amid total devastation. No explanation fit, no freak air pocket, no chemical residue. The fire had simply stopped at that boundary. Lily's calm testimony, her unharmed state, it chipped away at the walls Robert had built around his skepticism. For the first time, the man who trusted only what he could measure felt the stirrings of something greater, something his wife Linda had quietly lived for years. As paramedics continued their checks, neighbors pressed closer, whispering in hushed reverence. Word spread quickly through the crowd. A miracle. The Virgin Mary had intervened. And in the heart of that ordinary Texas night, faith began to rekindle in ways no one could yet fully grasp. Jennifer's car screeched to a halt amid the flashing lights and lingering smoke, her heart pounding with a terror no parent should ever know. She had received the call at the hospital. A fire, Lily trapped, and the drive home blurred into a nightmare of red lights and desperate prayers she barely remembered forming. Bursting from the vehicle, she ran toward the ambulances, spotting her daughter sitting upright on a stretcher, pink unicorn pajamas glowing under the floodlights, looking for all the world as if she had simply woken from a peaceful nap. Jennifer collapsed beside her, pulling Lily into a fierce embrace, tears soaking them both. "My baby, my precious girl, you're okay? How are you okay?" Lily hugged back with trusting arms. "I'm fine, Mommy. The beautiful lady protected me." Jennifer turned to Margaret, eyes searching for any rational thread to cling to. Margaret, still trembling with emotion, simply held up the rosary now dangling from Lily's hand and shook her head in silent wonder. At the hospital, a full battery of tests began under the watchful eye of Dr. Patterson, a seasoned emergency physician of 25 years. Chest x-rays, blood panels, neurological exams, meticulous skin checks, every protocol for fire exposure. The results left the medical team speechless. Lungs perfectly clear, oxygen saturation ideal, no trace of inhalation injury, no burns, not even the faintest redness from radiant heat. The doctor Patterson pulled Jennifer and Margaret aside, his voice laced with professional bewilderment. "I've seen patients from far less intense fires present with significant damage. Smoke inhalation alone can be life-threatening. Based on the reported conditions and exposure time, there should be something, anything. But medically speaking, it's as if your daughter was never in that house." In the quiet of the hospital room, as Lily slept peacefully under soft blankets, Jennifer and Margaret sat together, processing the impossible. Margaret, whose faith had carried her through widowhood and decades of caring for other people's children, felt a profound confirmation of what she had always believed. Mary, the gentle mother entrusted with humanity at the foot of the cross, watches especially over the little ones. Meanwhile, fire investigators combed through the charred remains once the blaze was fully extinguished. Chief Investigator Thomas Reynolds documented the origin, an electrical fault in the second-floor hallway air conditioner that sparked and spread rapidly through wiring and insulation. But Lily's bedroom defied explanation. Precise measurements revealed a circular area exactly 2.1 meters in diameter at the room's center, floor, carpet, walls untouched. No discoloration, no heat damage, no smoke residue. Just beyond that invisible boundary, total devastation. Reynolds consulted colleagues, tested for fire-retardant materials, analyzed airflow patterns. Nothing accounted for it. The fire didn't just slow down, he told his team quietly. It stopped, as if it couldn't cross some line. For Robert Hayes, the night refused to end when his shift did. Arriving home in the pale dawn, he moved quietly, expecting the house to be still asleep. But Linda was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, her intuitive gaze meeting his the moment he entered. In 18 years, she had seen him return from countless calls, exhausted, stoic, always in control. This morning was different. His eyes carried a weight she couldn't name. "Something happened," she said softly. It wasn't a question. Robert sank into a chair, staring at his calloused hands, the hands that had carried a child out of hell unscathed. Slowly, haltingly, he recounted the rescue, the inferno, the calculations screaming impossibility, the circle of safety, the little girl calm and unharmed, clutching a rosary. She said a beautiful woman in a blue dress protected her. Linda held her hand, sang to her, told her not to be afraid. For the first time, tears welled in his eyes, spilling over as he whispered, "I keep trying to explain it away. Shock, hallucination, some pocket of cooler air. But there's no explanation. None." Linda set her cup down and wrapped her arms around him without a word. She didn't quote scripture or proclaim miracles. She simply held the man she loved as he confronted something his rational world had no room for. In that embrace, years of quiet Sunday mornings she had spent in church alone began to bridge the distance between them. Robert pulled back eventually, voice rough. "I don't know what I believe anymore, but I know what I saw." Back at a friend's house where they were staying temporarily, Jennifer watched Lily devour pancakes with the resilient appetite of childhood. All their possessions were gone, clothes, photos, the small securities of home, but her daughter was alive, drawing pictures with borrowed crayons as if the world hadn't nearly ended. When Lily offered the rosary back to Margaret, the older woman knelt gently. "No, darling. I think Our Lady meant for you to keep it now." Lily nodded solemnly and placed it carefully beside her plate, a new treasure. Jennifer, raised with casual Christianity but distant from active faith, felt her worldview shifting. The skepticism that had once dismissed Margaret's quiet devotions now crumbled before the reality of her daughter's survival. "Do you really believe it was her?" she asked Margaret hesitantly. The nanny's eyes shone with tears of gratitude. "All my life I've prayed the rosary, gone to Mass, read the lives of the saints. Never once did I see what I'd call a miracle, until last night. I know what should have happened to our Lily. Yet here she is. Yes, Jennifer. I believe the Virgin Mary wrapped her in her mantle and held the flames at bay." In Catholic tradition, such child testimonies carry special weight, the pure hearts to whom heaven often reveals itself most clearly. From the little shepherds of Fatima, who beheld Our Lady's radiant beauty, to Saint Bernadette at Lourdes, children have been chosen vessels for messages of hope. Lily's simple words echoed those visions. The blue mantle symbolizing Mary's heavenly queenship, the light of grace, the maternal presence that calms fear. And in the days that followed, as news spread quietly through the community, many hearts were stirred, reminded that the Mother of God remains ever watchful, especially over the most vulnerable. 2 weeks after the fire, Robert found himself restless on a Sunday morning, the events of that night replaying endlessly in his mind like a film he couldn't pause. He rose early, the house still quiet, and surprised Linda by announcing he would join the family for Massachusetts. Her eyes widened with a mix of joy and quiet understanding, but she simply nodded, knowing better than to press. Michael and Sarah, sensing the shift, exchanged glances but beamed at the news. The drive to church felt strangely new for Robert, the familiar route now carrying a weight of introspection. Inside the parish, amid the scent of incense and the soft murmur of prayers, Robert felt out of place, unsure when to stand, kneel, or respond. Yet he observed keenly. The families bowed in reverence, the priest's words on faith and divine providence echoing what he had witnessed. After the service, over breakfast at a nearby diner, Sarah's curiosity bubbled over. "Dad, why church today?" Robert met her gaze honestly. "Something happened at work, a rescue. A little girl in a fire who shouldn't have survived. It made me question a lot." Michael, ever thoughtful, chimed in. "The one everyone's talking about at school? They say it was a miracle from the Virgin Mary." Robert nodded. "And what do you think?" The team pondered. "It'd be arrogant to think we know everything about the universe. Some things are just beyond us." 3 weeks post-fire, Jennifer secured a cozy rental home, smaller, but warm and affordable. The church community rallied, organized by Linda after hearing the story, providing furniture, clothes, and helping hands for the move. It was there that Robert and Jennifer met face to face. As volunteers unpacked boxes, Jennifer approached him, voice thick with emotion. "I never properly thanked you. You saved my daughter." Robert shook his head humbly. "I'm not sure I did. When we reached her, she was already safe, protected somehow. I just brought her out." Jennifer clasped his hand. "You went in when it was hopeless. You didn't quit. That's everything." Lily dashed out then, eager to show Margaret her new pink room. Spotting Robert, she paused, then lit up in recognition. Running to hug his legs, she beamed up at him. Robert knelt, smiling gently. "Hi again, Lily." She tugged his hand. "Come see my room. Mommy let me pick the color, just like before." In the small space, posters already adorned the walls, and on the nightstand sat the rosary, a quiet sentinel. Lily pressed a crayon drawing into his hands. A burning house, a firefighter, a little girl, and above her, a woman in blue enveloped in golden light. "I drew what happened, so you won't forget." Robert's throat tightened, tears pricking his eyes. "I won't, Lily. Ever." She hugged him again. "The beautiful lady blessed you too, you know. She told me." That evening, Robert framed the drawing and hung it in his office, a daily reminder of the night heaven touched earth. 5 years on, Lily thrives as a vibrant 10-year-old, her love for drawing and singing undimmed. The rosary remains by her bed, a cherished companion she won't sleep without. Jennifer, single still, discovered a profound community in the church, supporting her through joys and trials. Margaret continues her nannying with renewed purpose, often sharing the story as a testament to faith. And Robert? He battles fires with the same expertise, but Sundays find him in the pews with his family, his skepticism transformed into quiet belief. This tale endures as a beacon. On November 15th, the Virgin Mary's intercession shielded a child, shattered doubts, and wove lives together in grace. In Catholic lore, such miracles remind us of Mary's role as mediatrix of all graces, her mantle a refuge for those who call upon her. Have you felt her protection in your storms? Share in the comments. Each story kindles faith for others. Subscribe, hit the bell for more Marian wonders, and share this with someone needing hope. May Our Lady bless and guard you always. Amen.